Thanks, Steve. I'm losing my voice before I've even started. Yeah. Greg Barsby, I've been with the business for about 7.5 years or so. Lucky enough to have what I think is the best job in QinetiQ, which is getting to run QinetiQ in Australia. And I think we've got a really exciting story, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you all today. Indo-Pacific region is really the front line of strategic competition between some major world powers at the moment, and the Chinese Communist Party is really ramping up pressure on Australia and on our neighbours. Obviously, given the close ties between Russia and China, we're all watching Russia and Ukraine events closely at the moment. The Australian government sees alliances and relationships as a key component of our national security strategy, and it's really active in all the relevant forums, and it's investing heavily to ensure adequate support for our neighbouring countries. We've had the AUKUS announcement that Sam mentioned earlier. That really created some additional tensions in our region, but it's of huge strategic importance to Australia, and along the lines of what Sam said, probably represents one of the largest shifts in defence acquisition strategy that we've seen. It's really about information and technology sharing. The Australian government is absolutely committed to a significant capability spend, with the defence budget increasing to 2.2% of GDP and likely to move beyond that. We've had supply chain vulnerabilities highlighted through COVID across areas like fuel supply and critical infrastructure, and that really must be addressed. Our government's moved quite quickly with policies to support supply chain resilience, and Australian industry content has been mandated as part of that. And areas of critical industrial capability have been identified in 14 government sovereign industrial capability priorities. So these are critical capabilities where the Australian government has said we will invest to support the development of sovereign capability in Australia in these areas so that we've got reliability of supply. That's quite powerful, and it's having quite an impact on the market. And two of the areas that have come up time and time again already in this presentation, test and evaluation and robotics and autonomous systems, are two of those 14 sovereign capabilities. So two areas that we're looking to grow bang on with what our customer is looking for. You'd be aware that we've got a federal election coming in Australia, and depending on what press you read, a potential change of government. I think it's very unlikely that change of government will mean a change to these commitments or any change to the kind of public position that government has already taken. So, the Australian business. We've grown really, really strongly over the last 7 years or so, as Steve highlighted earlier. And we've grown to have a significant Australia-wide footprint with major centres in Melbourne, Canberra and Adelaide, and we've got over 650 employees now. Our business advisory, our advisory business line now turns over $100 million per year, and we've got deep capabilities across program management, acquisition and sustainment support, integrated logistics support, and general business advisory. Our engineering business grew over 40% last financial year, and again, deep capabilities spanning structure integrity, explosive ordnance, design and prototype engineering, and software design and development. In the experimentation and technology domain, we've grown our portfolio of customer-funded R&D projects, and we've got a focus there on developing unique power and energy products with some academic partners. Over the past couple of years, we've been developing positions in test and evaluation and training mission rehearsal and autonomous systems and robotics. These areas are directly consistent with those sovereign industrial capability priorities that our government has defined, and of course they allow us to leverage absolute core group capabilities back into Australia. In general, These will be longer-term, capability-based contracts that combine the deep technical expertise resident in our business with operating infrastructure on behalf of our customers. And I'll provide a couple of examples of programs like that later in the presentation. So our foundations and strategy for growth. The business in Australia has had a really stable leadership team with 2/3 of the team having been with us for more than 5 years now. Business is very mature in its operations. We know what we're doing and we know where we're going. We are in the process of expanding the team to bring in some additional leadership capacity to support further growth. We have delivered significant growth in advisory services, particularly through what's called the Major Service Provider Contract, or MSP, where we are one of 4 consortium contracted to provide acquisition and sustainment procurement services at scale to our capability acquisition and support group, which is very similar to your defence equipment and support. About 5 years ago, we acquired an integrated logistics support and project management business called Rubicon, and through that acquisition, we acquired a contract providing acquisition and sustainment support to a project called Air 7000, which was about airborne intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance. That project was transitioned into MSP and has continued to grow for us now, 5 years later. Similarly, through Rubicon, we acquired a very small presence within Land Systems Division, supporting land acquisition programs. I think it was about 6 people. And that is now grown into an 80-person integrated work program within MSP. So that's a great example of being able to, leverage an acquisition and use that to grow our positions in core business. We've also leveraged the MSP kind of commercial construct and been providing teams into acquisition programs within adjacent customers, such as Joint Capabilities Division or the Bureau of Meteorology. So a very similar offering into a similar customer. Within our engineering technical services business, we've got a really great track record of winning new contracts and then growing them. The picture on the right of that screen is our team that runs engineering, design and prototype workshops for the Defence Science and Technology Group. After 10 years of running that, the contract had to be recompeted under our procurement rules. We won that. I think we announced that about a year and a bit ago. And since then, we've expanded the scope of that contract to include at least 3 additional sites and delivery of test and trials activities for that customer. And there's more to come there. Again, we've leveraged that kind of model into other customers, such as the University of Melbourne, where we help design and now operate their student design and prototype workshop, which they call Creator Space. And we're in the process of doing a very similar thing for Army currently, which they call Maker Space. In general, these engineering services programs utilise our engineering expertise in an operational contract. They're longer term, higher value, and offer us great opportunities to develop deep customer intimacy, develop our own capability, and then grow the contract further. Excuse me, I'll just have a quick drink. Our engineering capability is an ideal base for us from which to develop the capability to support our target growth areas of autonomous systems and robotics, test evaluation, and training and mission rehearsal. And I'm going to talk through a couple of projects now which should really bring all of that stuff to light with some kind of real examples. The Mine Warfare Maintenance Facility. We won an initial contract in 2017 to develop sovereign mine warfare training and threat representation capability. We provide sustainment services for the censored and inert exercise mine shapes, including the Stonefish exercise mine. Our services include laying and recovery of mine shapes in support of training and trials, and we've developed our own version, which we call QSense, which is a censored training mine prototype. And we've further potential to support future maritime T&E and training activities through some big programs that are coming, C1905, which is maritime mine countermeasures, C2000, which is maritime mines, and C1439, which is Collins Mine Obstacle and Avoidance System. Very recently, we were awarded a 5-year contract extension by our customer. Now, the customer could have done it 1 year at a time, but they elected to award all 5 years, which I think, demonstrates incredible trust in the relationship that we've got with the customer. But importantly, it enables us to work with our customer to further enhance what we're doing in mine warfare training capabilities, and we'll design, and develop, new types of training mines that'll have data recording and things like that. A really exciting opportunity for us. Queensland Flight Test Range, which Steve mentioned a little bit earlier. Queensland Government had the vision to be a world leader in unmanned aerial system technology and its application. And they commissioned us to design, build and operate their test range because of our unique heritage in test and evaluation. This is probably a great answer to your question, I think it was Sasha. Yeah. We had Queensland Government visit the test range we run in Aberforth. We hosted them here at Farnborough. We had some world experts help us present to, from QinetiQ, help us present to Queensland Government when we were in the kind of bidding stage. The range is located at Cloncurry Airport, which is in central Queensland, and you can see the picture there, the nice red dirt. There's nice red dirt everywhere there. That's a very long way from anywhere, Cloncurry. It's a unique range. The capability is quite unique in the region. It's got the essential infrastructure to support beyond line of sight testing in a safe and controlled environment. We've equipped it with proven operational safety systems, range control system, primary radar, etc. There's a 2,000 metre commercial grade runway, secure hangarage and large areas of unpopulated land, which makes it an ideal base for unmanned aerial systems test. It currently provides a pretty base level of T&E capability though, and we're working with Queensland Government to implement incremental capability upgrades, including things like electro-optic tracking, air-ground interaction, and some representative range targets, etc., to enable a much more sophisticated T&E capability to help us attract larger and more complex test programs to the range. I think this example, Queensland Government's Flight Test Range, is a fantastic example of our ability to leverage core, unique capability that QinetiQ has in T&E and know-how, etc., and bring that from across QinetiQ Group to Australia to meet a local customer need. Moving on to autonomous systems and robotics. I think Sam mentioned it. We've just recently bid a program called Land 154 Phase 4, which is counter-IED, counter-improvised explosive device fleet replacement. It's based on Spur and Talon, two of our land robot platforms developed by our business in the US. Both platforms do have some incumbency with the customer in Australia. I think it's certainly the first time while I've been with the business that QinetiQ's had the ability to deliver those platforms as a fully integrated capability in Australia. We'll be able to sustain them, upgrade them, customise them to meet end user requirements. I think that's another great example of us collaborating globally within our business to meet local customer needs. It's single route to market in action. Our ambition for growth. It's a great picture of more Cloncurry red dirt on the bottom right there. Our growth roadmap in test and evaluation and training and mission rehearsal is really strong. We're building upon the successful delivery of the Queensland Flight Test Range and a number of other test and evaluation programs for customers like Defence Science and Technology to build a great pipeline of opportunities that includes things like Air 6500, which is Joint Air Battle Space Management, where we are positioned as the independent T&E partner with Lockheed Martin, and Lockheed are one of the final two primes in that competition. And we're supporting them through the competitive evaluation process. Similarly, we're partnered with a local Australian munitions provider called Niowa, in the guided weapons and explosive ordnance enterprise, again as the independent T&E provider. We're also positioning as the independent T&E provider in a program called C5012, which is persistent undersea surveillance. That's a massive program, and some other broader maritime T&E opportunities. All of this is leading towards a strategic T&E partner to defence in Australia, and our customer is currently seeking, via a request for information, input into commercial models for that kind of strategic partner arrangement. That's potentially a broad LPTA-style T&E contract in Australia. All of our responses to these opportunities will leverage our unique, sophisticated T&E capabilities into Australia. They support the development of sovereign T&E for Australia. Our roadmap for autonomy and robotic systems is currently focused on land robots and starts with Land 154. Through this program, we would establish local land robot maintenance, repair and overhaul capabilities, along with integration, experimentation and test capabilities. And this would then position us for further opportunities, leveraging QinetiQ platforms and designs, finishing with a large program called Land 125, and it's north of $300 million Australian armed ground vehicle build program. Via that program, our customers are really looking to expedite the use of robotics and autonomous systems technology in land operations. We're already shaping customer thinking with a view to winning a position to lead Land 125 in Australia. We're investing now to build the required capability to support our T&E and robotics opportunity robots. We're investing about $10 million to develop our own technology and engineering centre to deliver digitally enabled engineering and assurance capabilities and support the development of sovereign capabilities in robots and autonomous systems. And we signed the lease on that facility about a month and a half ago, and we'll take possession of it next month. The facility is located at Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne, capitalising on the relationships we've got with Defence Science and Technology there and other institutions like the University of Melbourne. As Steve mentioned, we've also established our Test and Evaluation Sovereign Skills program. Steve said that was approved on Friday. I might get myself in trouble here, but I've already approved the offers to go to 8 candidates to join that program, which is fantastic. You know, that's a formal program consisting of training, mentoring, and really importantly, you know, site-specific work experience. So we're going to take people who are, you know, appropriately qualified with systems engineering or something like that from Australia, put them through a training program, bring them over here and get them to work on some of the fantastic facilities and capabilities that we've got here, and then bring them back to Australia to use in some of those big T&E programs that I mentioned earlier. A great thing to be doing, fantastic for what we need to do in Australia. And I think there's really very few businesses in the world that have the capability to do things like that. Yeah. And finally, you know, clearly we're aspiring to accelerate our strategic progress or capability development through acquisitions where appropriate. We've made fantastic progress in Australia over the past few years, and despite the fact that I've been here for 7 years, I've never been more excited about what we've got ahead of us in the future. Enough from me. Keen to hear from you and welcome any questions you've got. So I'll pass back to Steve to lead us through any Q&A.
Great, thank you, Greg. Well, a lot happening in Australia, and a lot has happened over the last 7 years. So questions about Australia? Okay. And John, you're going to feed if any come off the internet.
Thanks, Ash Tuser, again from Agency Partners. Queensland Flight Test Centre, I mean, it sounds as if it's almost a private venture development by the Queensland government. Where was such work done in Australia previously, or was it done in Australia previously? And is there any formal relationship with DST in terms of directing business there, or is it build it and they will come?
There's no formal relationship with DST in terms of the range. We are in discussions with DST about using it. It is quite unique in that, you know, it is probably the largest certainly the largest non-defence range in Australia. You could probably even go broader than that. Quite unique in the way they've established it. Queensland Government did have a relationship with Boeing around the testing of loyal wingmen very early, which embarrassingly we've renamed the Ghost Bat. I don't know whether you've seen that over here. Yeah. Part of our role there is to engage with the market and bring people to use the range, sell the spare capacity. We've got a couple of commercial users signed up, and we're working to lock in the test dates with them now.
Hi, George McWhirter from Berenberg. You talked about AUKUS as being a key pillar of your growth strategy. Can you just talk about some specific areas where you see potential for growth for QinetiQ, just regarding AUKUS?
Do you want to start? Greg?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I framed it as a key pillar to the growth strategy. I think it just enhances what we're already doing. I think it will kind of help solve some of the issues around data and information and technology sharing over time. I think there will be things come out of it well beyond the submarines that will be great areas of opportunity with us, and the obvious things will be hypersonics and counter-hypersonics, directed energy, etc. We at Australia, we were already working in the submarine program. We're already working in the Collins Life of Type extension. I think those roles will grow for us over time. That's quite an Australian perspective on it. So,
no, I think you're right. I would call it's more about an enablement. Just step back. You've got 3 nations that have signed up to an agreement where they see a shared mission and a shared need, and therefore they'll be looking at sharing experience about the threat environment, around technology, concepts of operations, and how they can respond to that. And I think that creates a context and an environment for us to focus the delivery of our strategy. And Greg is right. I mean, there have been 2, I think, main public announcements around AUKUS. And the first one was around the submarine program, between the 3 countries. And then there was one a couple of weeks ago, which then talked about other disruptive technologies such as counter-hypersonic. So I think it's more about the context, the enabling environment, and then our responsibility as a company is to understand the needs of those 3 customers. They're very aligned with the type of distinctive offerings that we're focusing on, and then really trying to create value to them as customers, which then obviously creates value to us as a company and you as shareholders. One more at the back.
As a reminder for those joining us on the webcast, if you'd like to ask questions, please do dial in on the phone line provided.
Yes, it's Émeric Poulain from Kepler Cheuvreux. The question is on the economics, because demand clearly is robust and you will capitalize on it as you can, but the supply side is always where we see the bottlenecks and the difficulties right now. So what's the economics of the growth strategy, and do you see some issues regarding recruitment or the cost side of the equation?
In Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. On one of the slides, you would have seen, I think it had about 98% of our business is focused around services. So, we really are a people business. So part of what we're doing, and I talked about the longer term operational contracts, where we combine our people expertise with operating infrastructure for our customers. Those kind of contracts give us the ability to develop our own capability. The advisory side, you tend to have, people working in customer sites, etc., working on programs. Whereas with the larger, longer-term operational contracts, what you do with your people is far more within our control, and that gives us the ability to bring people in and train them up. Some of the kind of classic pyramid model approach. The other thing I'd say is, if we are successful with something like Land 125, if you want to work in defence robotics in Australia, where are you going to go? It'll be to us. So I think there are some things within our strategy which will help solve those problems, but you've hit a challenge on the head in terms of recruitment. I think we recruited over 150 people in the last year into the business. You know, so, and it was hard work. It was every day, you know, out there looking. So recruitment and retention, big issue for us. We're very conscious of it and really working on the whole employee value proposition to help solve the problem, and very focused on ensuring we get the best return from a strategic and financial perspective on the people that we've got.
And if I add to that, Greg, I mean, the dynamic around people is important to us across the entire group. You know, Greg used the phrase, we are a people business. Yes, we have technology. Yes, we provide services, but it's all about our people. And you would have heard I use the phrase, creating a safe and secure environment for our people to thrive. And that's a very deliberate, thought-through phrase that, you know, we know as certainly leaders of the organisation, we have to create an environment where people are attracted, they love and enjoy the work they do, they're passionate about our customers' mission, and they have fulfilling careers, and they feel that they're adding value, you know, not just locally, but in the world. So we spend an awful lot of time, you know, on the sort of background to your question, making sure that, you know, the environment in QinetiQ is very distinct, very different, you know, and people are attracted and stay with us, you know, to support and fuel, you know, our growth. So it's not a Australian-specific issue. That's something that we work very hard, and I think we're doing very well on as a whole group. Okay, I've had the signal we need to move on. So thank you, Greg. That's Australia, and very pleased to introduce Sean. Sean, if you'd like to say a few words about yourself, maybe why you joined such a wonderful company, and tell us about our plans for growth.